Hello everyone, Phil here, and welcome to another TierMaker ranking challenge here with my live audience. We've had a great marathon stream here today, and we're going to continue on with another TierMaker. This one they came up with, they said, can you rank the best game consoles of all time? And I said, why not? Let's do it. Now, as you're going to see, there's a ridiculous amount of game consoles here. At the same time, I think there is an error. I think a bunch of these got duplicated for some reason. I don't know why. There's duplicates. But what we will do is kind of go through the list and rank, and then maybe when you see a duplicate, just kind of ignore it. I don't know if they're in order or not, these duplicates. They look like they're not exactly in order. It's weird that this happened, but we're going to go with it. It looks all right. It looks pretty good. I like the variety and stuff that they've got here. Okay. Balloon Kid did a super chat. Earlier we did a horror movie villains ranking. He said, where did you rate Art the Clown? I didn't, because I've never seen Terrorizer. So it'd be unfair for me to try to rank someone who I didn't see the extent of what they did. And I didn't actually see the movies they were in. You understand? I didn't think it would be fair to try to guess where he should be. So there you go. Thank you, Bloom Kid, for the super chat. Okay, guys, we're going to get started. So I think we should kind of maybe go... I don't know, man. This is tough. Where do you start? Do you just start randomly grab one? Do you start like in a chronological order? Do you rate the handhelds first? Do you rate the actual full-fledged home consoles first? I don't even know where to start, right? It's weird. I don't know how to do this. But anyway, let's just start. So let's start with, I don't know, original Xbox. Here's the original Xbox, okay? Now, I'm just tossing it in here. I'm not saying that's where it's going to rank. So we go all the way from S to stinky F, okay? S, A, B, C, D, F. F minus, actually. It says F minus, the absolute worst. Original Xbox was interesting. Original Xbox basically brought first-person shooters to the mainstream outside of PC players. Until Halo, almost no one was playing first-person shooters on console at all. They didn't even think it was viable. Everyone thought, oh, you need mouse and keyboard, mouse and keyboard, mouse and keyboard. And then Halo actually got people to start playing them with a controller. And then tons of first-person shooters started coming out. I mean, that's honestly, that's what kind of laid the groundwork for some awesome games in the future. Also, you guys may not realize this, but the original Xbox was actually the first console to have major online play for fighting games. Although a few other fighting games dabbled in it on previous consoles, like PS2 I think might have had one, and Dreamcast. It really was Xbox One, with games like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and Capcom vs. SNK 2. They had full-on online play. And it was laggy as shit, but it was still, you know, playable. It was still the first time ever that it was really fully implemented. The controller was weird. I remember the controller being very weird. Today they call it the Duke. It was an odd-shaped controller, almost roundish, with weird buttons on the front that kind of looked like, I don't know, gems, like gemstones, right? So a lot of people did have issue with the controller, didn't like it that much, okay? But I feel like it innovated a lot. I do. I feel like it did innovate quite a bit at the time. Then again, a lot of games were cross-platform, and a lot of people always preferred the PlayStation 2 version to the original Xbox version. So... man, it's a hard to place. I'm gonna start it off as a C, but as we further rank, we may actually readjust the ranking and get it to a different level. But I'm gonna start it at a C. Okay? I'm just gonna grab something else random. How about Xbox 360? For me, I'm serious. If I was only thinking about quality of games, ease of use, and all the features of the console, I'm shitting you not, I would make this S tier. But I cannot. I cannot, in good conscience, make the Xbox 360 S tier. It's just not possible. Do you want to know why? Because of the fucking red ring of death. The console was amazing, but it was too faulty. I personally went through 5 Xbox 360s during its life cycle. 5 fucking consoles in less than 10 years. That's completely unacceptable. And As amazing, I love the controller. I felt that the Xbox controller innovated it. It felt better, more ergonomic for your hands. The voice chat sounded better than the voice chat on the PS3 because it didn't use shitty Bluetooth. It used a different technology that worked better, in my opinion. Xbox Live, are you shitting me? Xbox Live was amazing. Having to be able to join a party and talk with your friends across the internet, easily party up and join a game together, have text chat, voice chat, all of that. It was in the achievement system. Yes, Xbox was the console that innovated achievements in video games way before Steam added them or before PlayStation 3 had trophies. I could keep going on about how innovative this console was and how good it was. Removable hard drive, easily removable. Instead of having to open your console, you just pop it on the side. It was so easy. You know what I'm saying? But that fucking red ring, I can't forgive it. I went through so much money with this stupid console because of that goddamn red ring. So I just gotta degrade it. I gotta demote it to A. There's no way I could give it an S. Just in good conscience with that red ring. If it didn't have the red ring, that would be like easy S rank. Easy S, but they fucked it up with that red ring. I can't believe how bad they fucked it up. Okay, that's my take anyway. The red ring was a 5-minute fix. The ring meant metal touching metal. You had to take it apart and put thermal paste on the CPU and bam, never happened again. If that was the case, why didn't they explain that to everyone and why did everyone need 5? Because I had a ridiculous amount, right? I gotta give it an I can't give it an S in good conscience. Alright. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, S. Not even a debate. There's not even anyone that can dispute it. The Super Nintendo was the undisputed champion of the 16-bit era. It had better graphics than the Genesis, better sound than the Genesis, better controls than the Genesis. And every console after that bit off of it in one way or another. Easy, easy, easy S. I don't even know how you can argue, like, what was better at that time period. Oh, PlayStation 1, that was the next gen. You see, you can't even, like mess with it. It had the best RPGs of the time, including the Final Fantasy series, Chrono Trigger. It had the best fighting games, the best versions of both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. It had, like, everything. It was 1,000,000% easy, easy, easy S, ultimate, supreme, primo, god rank tier console. You can argue that it's old. You could argue that, but it's still S rank. Sorry. Okay. How about the original Game Boy? That's interesting. The original. This is not the future versions. The absolute original Game Boy. I'm just dropping it in B. I'm not placing it in B permanently. I'm just dropping it there so I don't have to hold it. Okay. The original Game Boy was incredibly innovative. It took arguably console level games into your hands. Now the graphics weren't as good. The sound certainly was inferior. And it definitely left a lot to be desired with the visuals. If you're not aware, the original Game Boy actually had a pretty bad screen. Basically, the screen could only be seen in light. If you were in the dark, the original Game Boy screen was invisible. It was not backlit. So you had to be in an area with good lighting. But then if you were in an area with too good lighting, like direct sunlight, you couldn't see the screen either. You basically had to be, like, indoors with certain lighting so you could play it. Okay? And also, the Game Boy... That's not Game Boy Color, is it? Is that original Game Boy? Hold on. I thought that was original Game Boy. That is original Game Boy. Yeah, that's original Game Boy. Yep. For sure that is. Yes. That is the original Game Boy. The Game Boy Color is next to it over there. I see it. It looks translucent. Yeah, that's the color. Okay, so here's the thing. It had amazing games. It had Super Mario games that were just as good as console Super Mario. I would argue Super Mario Land was, like, better than Super Mario Brothers, like, 1. It was a better game. It absolutely, like, surpassed what you could play on consoles at the time. Also, there was amazing Final Fantasy games on it. There was so many good games on the Game Boy. Oh, are you shitting me? Everyone had fucking Tetris on the Game Boy and played the shit out of it. And of course, don't even get me started with Pokemon. All right? However, there definitely were downsides to the original Game Boy. The batteries. Oh, jeez, dude. It took 6 batteries. 6 fucking AA's. and it sucked them up like no tomorrow. You'd be playing this thing for half a day, and it ate all 6 of your fucking batteries. Like, what are you, out of your mind? Yeah, it was like a power sucker. Like, it was bad. That's why they sold, I don't know if you were aware, that the Game Boy had an unprecedented amount of accessories for it because everyone wanted to extend the battery life. So everyone was like, get one that has a backup battery, a double backup battery, you know, this and that. And also because you couldn't see the screen, some of them had these lights that you would like put over the top to shine a light on it so you could see it. So I would say that was really one of its major problems, was it was heavy because it had so many batteries and the batteries died so fast and it was hard to see the screen. But outside of those 3 things, the original Game Boy was so innovative, and it really it brought in this era of portability in video games that had never been seen before. It was so amazing to be able to think you can bring a console level game with you anywhere you go, right? So, but besides Game Boy, you want to know what else was its competition? Those shitty Tiger Electronic games. Remember those fucking pieces of shit? That was one game and it wasn't even a real game. It was like these little LED things or whatever, little liquid crystal shit, and it was terrible. It was like, it was so bad. That's what everyone had. I had them too. Like every Christmas, my fucking great aunt would buy me like 2 of them. So I'd end up with like 10 of these things. Like, they all suck. I don't want these, but I had them. You know. So it was either that or Game Boy. It's like, dude, Game Boy was like insane. So here's the thing. It's got heavy positives, but it's got a couple of bad negatives. I would say it's got to be A or B. There's no way it's S. It can't be. It's flawed. But man, A or B, this is a hard ranking for me. Either one would fit. It's like, did you like the positives more, or were the negatives really holding it back for you? Right? I'm going to put it in B for now. Maybe we'll readjust it later. I'm going to put it in B to start. Okay? So there you go. Hell, let's continue with Nintendo. We just did 2 Nintendos in a row. How about the Switch? Nintendo Switch. All right? Now, I'm just dumping it in B. I'm not saying that's where it goes. I'm dumping it in B. The Switch. Okay? Interesting concept to have a hybrid console. Interesting. It's portable, but it's also a dockable console, and you don't need extra accessories to do that. It just comes with it and allows you to use it in both. I like that idea, the hybrid idea. I don't use it portable, but a lot of people apparently really do and like that feature. Games. First party Nintendo games are top notch for the thing. Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Metroid Dread, you know, Mario Kart, even though you could argue Mario Kart was a Wii U game, but ported to this, it's amazing. You know, there's so many good games for this thing. Kirby games, some Pokemon games are good, not all of them. But the first party shit is absolutely top notch. Absolutely. The third party shit is terrible. Most third party games for this console, sadly, are just not good. They end up being inferior versions of things that have already been ported elsewhere better. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it depends on what you're looking to play. If you're looking for a portable console where you can play awesome Nintendo games on the go, this is like an S-rank console, right? If you're looking for a great home console with versatility, this is like a D. It's actually got one of the worst versatility lineups because the games are always better on other consoles. Now, there's another factor involved here as well. The freaking Joy-Cons, man. Everyone knows the Joy-Cons are faulty. Everyone knows they have drift. They're just not good. Personally, I used the Joy-Cons on my Switch, I think, 2 weeks? And I had enough, and I had to go out and buy another controller. I just couldn't use them anymore. I hated them. They were fucking terrible. And I just completely stopped using motion controls for it after like 2 weeks. I was like, I'm tapping out on that. I'm just going to get a normal controller. And ever since I started playing with a normal controller, I have no problems with the controls on the console. So, you know, that's a factor for sure. Man, there's just so many good things and bad things about it. It's kind of a weird mix for me. The absolute highest I can give it is an A. There's no way I could give the Switch an S rank. That would be insane. There's a lot of flaws to it. Okay? There just are. But at the same time, if you are the first party game focused, it is an outstanding console. It's a great value to have the portability with the home console as well. For now, I think I am going to leave it in B. But I may upgrade it later. But I think we're going to leave it in B to start. Okay? That's where I'm going with that. Okay, let's do a retro console. I want to get up because some of these are so small. I think that's an Atari there. Shit, no, that's not an Atari. Oh, yeah, that is an Atari. That's the 2600. Okay. Yeah, let's rank that. I don't even know what the fuck that thing is. That's the Atari 2600? Yeah, 2600. That's the only retro console? Yeah. Well, admittedly, guys, I'm a little disappointed. There's only one truly retro console on here. It's this right here. This is I believe this is the Atari 2600. I'm very disappointed. That's the only, like, there's no Odyssey. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no Commodore 64. There's no 7800 model of the Atari here either. They kind of like skipped all the early game consoles in this ranking. But I never had the 2600. I had the 7800. So I kind of know what the Atari was capable of, although my console did have slightly better graphics. Okay? Just slightly better. But this is the 2600, correct model? I think that's what this is. The one that has the toggles and it has the joystick with the red button. I'm pretty sure that this is the Atari 2600 model. That's not the 78. The 7800 had a wholly new redesigned controller and everything. So anyway, Atari was very innovative. Atari, you know, at that time, they were trying to basically make their console super versatile. They had an unprecedented amount of third-party games that were designed for it at the time, but also had awesome first-party titles that were in-house, and the games were great. You know, I played classics, very classic games like Jungle Hunt, Dig Dug, Joust, Food Fight. I could probably sit here and name you 20, 30 games I played on Atari that were amazing classics. I'm actually disappointed. There was an Atari collection that came out late last year. I really wanted to play it with you guys. I didn't get to it. Maybe I'll get to it eventually. But here's the thing, though. The Atari didn't age well. And the reason is, like, I feel like Atari did its best. At the time, it had a lot of competition. Like I was just saying, the Intellivision, the Commodore 64, the Coleco. It had a bunch of competition at the time. And it really was the best at the time. But there was a game crash. And when the game crash happened, essentially, games like E.T. and stuff failed. So the console ended up failing along with it, which is sad. And then Atari died. It never really came back as a console manufacturer ever. And then Nintendo took the reins with the NES. So the Atari's great. It's groundbreaking. It was a very good console, in my opinion. However, it did have shortcomings. For example, the joysticks were pretty faulty. Like, the joysticks were known to have some issues. It wasn't until the 7800 they redesigned the joystick to be a completely different design now, with a new stick and dual button input that felt different in your hand. I know because I owned that one. I'm going to leave the Atari 2600 at a B rank. I'm going to leave it there for now. We may downgrade it or upgrade it later. We'll see. Okay. Shout out to Baranoli, who just did a 10 pound super chat. Excuse me. And he says, happy birthday, Phil. I've been here since Fallout 3, your original playthrough with the camera capture. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Baranoli. That is an insanely long time you've been watching me then. And I really appreciate your long-standing support and viewership. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm glad that you could swing by for my birthday marathon today. Thank you so much. Okay. Continuing on with our rankings, let's just grab the Sega Genesis, also known as the Master System in Europe. Oh, man. I see, I love a lot of stuff on Genesis. And by the way, just again, I'm just dropping it in B. I'm not saying that's where it's going. I love the Genesis for various different reasons. But I would, again, be remiss to not accept its shortcomings, okay? At the time, the Genesis was really trying to stand out as the console meant for hardcore gamers, while they were trying to say that the Nintendo was being left in the dust. It couldn't do as fast graphics. It wasn't meant for as adult audiences. For example, on the Sega, it was the Sega Mega Drive, not the Master System, excuse me. It's Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, not Master System. Master System was before that. That's my fault. Misspoke. Mortal Kombat on the Genesis had full blood and gore. Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo was censored. Yeah. And a lot of people did not like that. So Genesis pushed themselves as we are the console that is caring about the games. We're trying to give you the absolute original, games. Games like Sonic the Hedgehog series. Oh my God. Super duper good, right? And there was quite a few great Genesis exclusive franchises, I remember. However, number one, the Genesis graphics were not as good as Super Nintendo. It doesn't matter how much they want to argue they had blast processing and all that stuff. It was not as good. It wasn't as powerful as a console as Super Nintendo was. The audio was way worse than Super Nintendo. In fact, if you want to see a side-by-side comparison that will blow your mind, go look at a screen capture of Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting on the Super Nintendo and compare it to Street Fighter II Special Championship Edition on the Sega Genesis. They were meant to be exactly the same game. Go take a look at them. They look completely different. The graphics, and then listen to the sound clips. When you're listening to the music and the sound effects on the Special Championship Edition on Genesis, it sounds like someone is inside of a tin can, inside of a closet, inside of a giant hall, inside of a cave that's buried underneath a fort somewhere. It's like what the fuck? It sounds so bad. And a lot of things it was weird because Genesis had the ability to do some good stuff, but it seems like the third-party game developers just couldn't do so well, while it was games like Sonic excelled, but others just didn't do that well, okay? And my God, we got to talk about that stupid 3-button controller. What a dumb idea. Only 3 buttons. Everyone wanted to go into the future of gaming, and they made only a 3-button controller. I mean, anyone could have told you that wasn't going to be enough for the future of gaming. And they stuck with it for a long time. Again, it wasn't until Street Fighter 2 that all the gamers were like, are you out of your mind? We can't play Street Fighter with 3 buttons. There was no pause to actually switch between punches and kicks. You had to press start. So if you had to piss, you have to piss your pants playing Street Fighter 2 because there's no way to pause the fucking game. That's bullshit. I don't want to piss my pants. So anyway, there's just so many pluses to the Super Nintendo over the Genesis. There's absolutely no way I can say the Genesis is S tier. All right. At best, I could give the Genesis an A tier ranking. At best. But maybe it's B. Maybe. It's definitely not C and it's definitely not S. I'd say it could be A or B. Okay? All right. How about the Wii U? Excuse me. I don't know what happened. I just had overwhelming flatulation of the mouth. I'm not even going to try to justify that console being good. All right? The motion controls were exactly the same as the Wii, which is a joke. It's a new console. Why is it the same control scheme? Then, some games force you to use this weird hybrid screen pad that was shit. It just was not good. The game selection was not that good. It had the weird sensor bar that didn't seem to work that well. The sad fact about it is it had some good games, like Pikmin 3. That's a really good game. The Donkey Kong games that were on it, they were outstanding. And sadly, a lot of people never played them. Remember New Super Mario Bros. U? And it was so underplayed that if you want to tell a console has failed, all right, here's the definitive way to tell. After the console ends or is out of production and the new one comes out to replace it, they literally port all the games from that old console to the new one. They literally, Mario Kart, every Donkey Kong game, every Mario game, every Zelda, every game that was on Wii U immediately was brought to the Switch because people didn't buy the Wii U and they felt these games were outstanding and they undersold because they were on the Wii U, right? The funny part about it is I actually don't feel that the Wii U was as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. It was certainly playable. For the games that did not absolutely force you to constantly be going and using that stupid screen controller, they weren't that bad. The problem was there were a few first-party games that were really good except for the screen controller. That was really frustrating. So, I mean, you want to know what was really cool about the Wii U? The fucking Miiverse thing, right? where you could make your own me, and it had this little virtual community of people online that would gather and write those cool pictures and everything. That was really neat. I loved that about the Wii U. I thought it made you feel interactive, like you were part of a giant gaming community who all shared similar likes and tastes. And I liked seeing, you know, the art and everything that they drew over there. That was really nicely done. But it just feels like they didn't really think big picture with that console, right? They were like, well, we already did motion controls with the Wii. How do we top it? We'll just keep the motion controls, but tack something else on. Oh, this stupid screen controller. Like, who wanted that? Did anyone ask them? Obviously, you know, they didn't do any market research. Again, with Nintendo, they don't do market research. They just do whatever they want, and then it ends up flopping, right? Sith Alchemist actually called these. I remember you threw your Wii U in a trash bin. You're absolutely positively right. The only system ever on camera, I took my Wii U and I threw it in a trash bin. And then I took it out. I threw it right outside into the dumpster. And then the truck came and took it away immediately. Okay, none of that happened except the trash bin, because I actually took it right out and kept using it. But you see my point. Okay, I got a couple shout outs. Alex from Phoenix with a $20 super chat says, happy birthday, Phil. In my own opinion, the Game Boy SP is the best portable system of all time. The games had great stories. My personal favorite was Mega Man 04. Cheers. It's here, right? Which one is the SP? You mean Game Boy Advance SP? The original Game Boy Advance was the blue one, right? And then there was the foldable one. Was that the SP? The foldable one? I think that's what the difference was, right? Because the standard Game Boy Advance was the chunky one, and then the SP was the shrinkable one. I liked this. Actually, I had that too, the foldable one. I really liked that too. Absolutely, I did. So thank you, Alex from Phoenix. And then I received a $5 super chat from Matthew, who says, happy birthday, Phil. It's been a great ride. I've supported you for years and watching you since I was only 7 years old. I hope you're having the best day. That's crazy to think that I've been around for 15 years and someone might be in their 20s and watching me now. They started when they were 7. That's insane. Thank you very much, Matthew. Okay. Shall we do some Game Boy rankings? You want to do Game Boy Advance? Game Boy... Oh, fuck. I'm on the wrong screen. Game Boy Advance was great. I really liked how the games... Oh, my God. I did it again. I did it twice in a row. I'm really stupid. Here we are. I really like how Game Boy Advance really improved the graphics. Like, Game Boy was good, and then you had Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, but the graphics were always the same, just slightly improved with the color. Game Boy Advance really made it look so good. Like, it felt like it was like Super Nintendo almost in your hand, right? And I think a lot of people really appreciated that about it. It is really chunky. Take a look at it. Like, it's pretty big for a handheld console, especially when your Game Boy was actually slimmer than this thing originally was. And now all of a sudden you got this bigger unit, and it doesn't really fold. It's not really that portable. It is kind of a bigger chunker. A bigger chunker unit. But at the same time, it did improve upon a lot of the issues. Like, the battery life was not as big of a problem as original Game Boy. It had full color. It had better graphics, right? But it was still battery powered, correct? If I remember correctly, you still needed to run on regular batteries. So, I'm going to say Game Boy Advance. How about this? Game Boy Advance is a B. But the Game Boy SP is an A. What do you think of that? Because the Game Boy SP improved the portability, added a chargeability. If you remember, it didn't just run on AA's. You could actually have a rechargeable thing. It was foldable. It was easily transportable. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like everything was dramatically improved. A huge dramatic improvement. Having it be portable and chargeable. It changed the game of the handhelds, honestly. Oh, that's right. I even forgot about this. Paul says it also had a backlight. You're absolutely right. The SP added the backlight. I totally forgot about that. So now you don't need to play with perfect lighting. You could play it in the goddamn dark, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. I agree there. I don't think it's God tier, though. I think it's very, very good. So I'm going to give the SP A ranking, and I'm going to give the Game Boy Advance a B ranking. There you go. Shout out to Dutch, who did a super chat, and he says, does Phil know about the Vectrex? The Vectrex was a console that only used vector graphics, which are those weird, almost like transparent lines. I don't remember if it was white or green. I've seen it before. I do know about the Vectrex. King Gabriel did a super chat, and he says, doing the weed dirty with an F tier ranking, but it's understandable. Thank you, King Gabriel. Thank you for understanding my rankings. I am trying to justify, though. I'm not just throwing stuff around like an asshole. Thank you, King Gabriel, for the super chat. By the way, guys, reminder. Hold on. There we are. I was like, I hit my cursor on the right screen. For a $100 contribution, you can have a nice shot. Well, I can have a nice shot of Harrowhorn Gin. Doesn't matter if it's a tip or a super chat at this point. Either is appreciated. And I will take a nice shot. I've already had 3 today, but then I ate food, which kind of negated it. So if you want to see me get sloshed, I'm just throwing that out there. Today's been a very supportive stream. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for anyone else to do a giant contribution. I'm just throwing it out there because I haven't mentioned it in a while. Okay. Wow, excuse me. That's really disgusting. You smell different when you're awake. Says cheers and happy birthday. Are you drinking an alcohol? We already answered that. Okay. Let's go to a more modern console now. How about... Let's take a look at... Are there multiple PS3 models on here? There are, aren't there? Because this is the original PS3. And then this is the PS3 Slim, isn't it? So let's go with the original PS3. And again, I'm just going to dump it in B. Alright. But let's talk PS3. When the PS3 came out, it was unprecedentedly expensive. It was ridiculously over the top expensive. $599 US. All right? In addition, it was chunky. It had limited storage space. It was using Blu-rays, which a lot of people were not used to yet. It was using Bluetooth, which a lot of people were not used to yet. The graphics, at least at the launch of the PS3, had issue because no one knew how to develop for the console at all. And people were, you know, these third-party companies, for example, trying to make Madden. Madden on the Xbox 360 looking gorgeous. Madden on the PS3 choppy, fucked up. Like, what happened? It took about 2 to 3 years for game developers to actually figure out the PS3 and start making amazing games for it. By the end of its life cycle, it was an amazing console. I mean, look at the games like The Last of Us was one of the final games to come out for it. It's like best in class, right? But I really feel like it had a rocky start. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I still, to this day, don't think Bluetooth was the good selection. Bluetooth technology is just not that good. It's not. I've used other wireless technologies for voice chat and things. They sound better than Bluetooth. Bluetooth is kind of like, I don't know, it's like a fad because people like the name. Oh, Bluetooth sounds trendy. But it's just not that good, in my opinion. Do you remember the original 6-axis controller for the PS3 that had motion control? And no one wanted it. It was in the original Uncharted. Everyone hated it. And within 1 year, 0 games used it, and they completely phased it out. But now everyone had to pay for it in their controller, even though no games used it. Like, literally, no games used the built-in motion controls. It was a complete waste of money. Some would argue the same thing with the built-in Blu-ray player, although games like Metal Gear Solid 4 never would have been possible if they didn't have the built-in Blu-ray player due to the sheer size. So, I think that's kind of a, I don't know, that's a justifiable thing, I feel. I kind of feel like if Xbox 360 is going to be A rank, that PS3 has to be B. You know? By the end of the console generation, they definitely recovered. But I definitely feel like that console gen, Xbox 360, definitely was better than PS3. And then it was a complete and utter flip-flop the next console gen, where PS4 was like way ahead of Xbox One. So if I'm going to say that Xbox 360 is an A, I have to say that PS3 is a B. I can't give PS3 an A and tie them. They're not tied. The Xbox 360 really did dominate that console gen, only until maybe the final year and a half, when the market was already saturated. Then all of a sudden PS3 caught up. So, oh really? HoboX says, well, you got to think about this, Phil, that there's multiple models. There's the Slim. You're absolutely right. I'm going to put base model PS3 as a C, and I'm going to put PS3 Slim as a B. How about that? I think that makes a little bit more sense since we're doing the different models of it. I think so. Okay, we got 2 down right there. Hold on, because I want to walk up close again and look at some of these others. What do we got here? Is that the Game Gear? That's the Game Gear. Okay. PSP, PS Vita. Oh man. PS1, GameCube, NES. Oh wow. Oh shoot. N64. The later model of the Xbox 360. Oh man, this is interesting. Okay. Okay. So, we got some interesting things to consider here, dude. I didn't even notice that the other model of Xbox 360 is on there, the one where the red ring issue was fixed. That's an immediate demotion of the red ring Xbox 360 to B rank, and the later version that fixed the issue goes into A rank right there. I didn't even notice that it was there, but that for sure should shuffle those two around. That wouldn't even make sense. So, there you go. Let's see here. Oh, I was gonna do, where was it? I just lost it. Oh, portables. Alright, Game Gear. If the original Game Boy is a B, the Game Gear is a D. The Game Gear was a piece of junk. The Game Gear, you could barely see the screen. Even in good lighting, you could barely see the screen. Okay? The battery life, if you can believe it, was worse than the battery life of the original Game Boy. And the game selection was inferior because it didn't have all those awesome Nintendo titles. So it really struggled to have good games. It really wanted to compete, and it just really couldn't. So I'm going to give it that D, that stinky D tier. There you go. Well, Derek, Game Gear had all of the Sega tie-in games, of course. All those Sonic games and things like that. But also it did get some third-party attempts. I think it had like some Spider-Man games, things like that. But it, again, without that first-party amazing support like Nintendo had, it definitely was inferior. Okay. How about we do something interesting? How about we grab, if I can find it here. I'm trying to find it. I'm looking for the original PlayStation. Is this it? Is that the original PlayStation 1? That's not the Model 2 with the thumbsticks. That's the original PlayStation 1, correct? I think it was, right? So, if this is original PS1, then the thing is, there was a dramatic improvement to the PS1, where not only did you have a version that sold the dual thumbsticks, but... So a lot of people don't know this, okay? Original PS1 was amazing for the game selection. It had so many awesome games because it was CD-based. Because it was CD-based, the first home-based CD console, really, that was economical. You know, you had shit like the 3DO and the CDI. Those weren't economical. Those were like $800 consoles that no one fucking bought. The PS1 was the first one by Sony that made it viable to have a home CD-based system. So the game selection was absolutely amazing. But before the thumbsticks, a lot of the games were hindered by controls. And a lot of people don't know this. I know this because I owned it. The Model 1 PS1 was faulty, much like you had the red ring of death on the Xbox 360s. On the Model 1 PS1, there was a problem where when it was reading games, it would heat up. The laser to read the game would heat up, and it would actually melt the glue that held the lens in place that the laser would go through to read the game. So because it would melt the glue, the lens would go like this when it was rotating the disc, and it would give you insane amounts of disc read errors. You would have to start putting your thing on its side, flipping it over, and sometimes every game was a little different because it had to run at a different speed. So you were fucking with this thing constantly to get it to work, okay? So even though the PS1 was very innovative for having 3D graphics, increased storage space on CDs, the limited control scheme, and that faulty Model 1 really, in my opinion, holds it back. I'm going to give that an actual B tier. However, the later model fixed all of that. Is the later model PlayStation on here? No. It's not. Well, yes it is. Here it is. Here it is. So, okay. So it is on there. Now it's weird. It's very weird because that's the last model of PS1. That's not even the middle model. There were 3 models of PS1. There was the Model 1 that had the base controller. Model 2 fixed the hardware issues and added dual thumbsticks. Model 3 is the one you see there that added the screen. You see that? So I would even argue the one that added the screen is probably an A. And then I would say the middle one was probably also an A. You know? I'm wondering why we don't have the Model 2 down here, because that is kind of misleading. But I'm gonna give it an A. Okay, continuing on. Let's see what we've got. Do we have any classic consoles? Is this the Dreamcast? Oh man. The Dreamcast is near and dear to my heart. I bought my first Dreamcast in Chinatown in New York City. They had imported it from Japan. I know that sounds weird that a Chinese store imported it from Japan, but they did. I paid like $400 for it when it was really only a $200 console. I got it because it was the only way to play faithful ports of Street Fighter style games at home at the time. All the other, like the PlayStation versions, were not good. This was the one that was like arcade perfect almost. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 1. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It was really good home conversions of those games. And the controller was innovative with the way that it had the control scheme laid out, and also it had that VMU, the virtual memory unit, where you had like a Tomodachi built into it, but also had other uses. It had some really innovative games. Jet Set Radio. Or is it Jet Grind Radio? It's Jet something Radio. Crazy Taxi. Power Stone. Okay? Really good games back then. But the Dreamcast was destined to fail because it was the dawn of internet piracy. And when I got my Dreamcast, everyone found out you don't have to buy games for this thing. You could just get every game for free online. So everyone bought a console and then immediately went online and burned every single game for free and never paid $1 for any games, and literally had a console with unlimited games. And it failed within about 2 years of being out. Sega couldn't make money on it. It was really shit that happened that way. It was rare. I'm not even kidding you. It was rare that I had a friend who owned a real Dreamcast game. They all just burned them. So I would say, even though it was a very innovative console for what it was, its shortcomings led it to fail ultimately. I got to give it a C. What a horrible problem to have. Because it was a great console that was destined to be outdated when everyone could, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could it succeed? It's just sad. I feel like it should have been an S tier. But I'm going to give it a much lower. Oh, by the way, Dreamcast did die out as well. After about using them for about 2-3 years, they would just fry. They would just go psh. And sometimes you could send them off for repair, and sometimes you couldn't. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a C tier. I really am. I know some people have an issue with that. How about the Game Boy Color? So I would say Game Boy Color dramatically improved upon the experience of the original Game Boy. So I'm gonna give it an A rank. I am, because the Game Boy Color it shrunk the form factor smaller, so I think it only needed 4 batteries instead of the 6 the standard Game Boy did, and having full color actually really added a lot to the games. So I'm going to give the Game Boy Color an A rank. I am. Okay, continuing on. See here. What? Oh man, we still got a ton we didn't do yet, huh? Let's just pull a random one. How about, so what is this, guys? Is this the PS Vita? This is the PSP and this is the PS Vita, correct? That's the original PSP? This is the later PSP? Now I'm really confused. Then where's the Vita? I thought I saw the Vita. Oh, I'm confused. Maybe we should do more modern consoles then. Right? Like, I would argue Xbox Series S or X. Where's Xbox Series X? Right here? That's like an S tier. That's like the ideal console. So is PS5, I would say. I would actually say, no exaggeration, that Xbox Series X and PS5 are like the epitome of what you would want in a home console. And the only real discerning factor between the two is the game selections. And if you care about Game Pass or not, right? I really would argue that. People are like, no. If that's the case, then we're going to drop them both down to A. If that's the case. Because I keep telling you guys, everyone asks me, everyone always asks me, which one do you like better? It's like, I mean, well, personally, I like this controller better. So I like the Xbox Series X better. But it doesn't mean that the games run better or anything. It's just, it's like personal preference. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give both PS5 and Xbox Series X an A ranking. And of course, just by the default then, the Xbox Series S has to be a B, but it's still a great console. It's still a great console for sure. It's just that it's not as powerful as the X that doesn't have the storage space. So there you go. What do we got here? Is this the original DS? There's so many models of the DS that now I'm gonna confuse them. The original DS was gray and metallic silver. I don't see it. Do you guys see the original model DS? I don't even see it on here. Right? Do you see the regular Nintendo DS? I don't see it. I only see the next one and then the last one. I only see those two. I don't see the standard model. The standard model was not that good. The standard model was weird. It felt very odd, and it had like a weird texture to it that didn't feel good in your hands. It would wear out actually, and it just was an odd shape. It wasn't until that slim one, the white one, that it started to feel like a really nice compact portable system. The standard DS, I would actually give like probably honestly a C rank. And then I would probably say the DS Lite is probably a B rank. And then probably the DS XL is probably an A rank. But you could disagree. But I think that's how I would rank those. The XL I placed was the 3DS. Yeah, I would say the 3DS is an A rank for sure, and I would say that this is a B. The light DS, right? Because they don't have the other DS on here, right? It's only those two. Those are the only two I see. Is the XL. So this is like the standard DS, and this is supposed to be like the 3DS. That's what they represent. I would definitely say the 3DS is better than the regular DS. Where do you see another one? I see duplicates, but I don't see another model DS. Do you? Oh my God, you're right. There is one right here. I didn't even see it. Oh, wow. I totally didn't see it. I would argue that's the same then, because they're both 3DSs. They're both great consoles. The regular DS is like a C. The mini version is like a B. And the 3DSs are both A's, in my opinion. The 3DS is so cool. It has this awesome wireless stuff in it that you could go to a convention and you could interact with people at the convention, playing mini games, trading profiles, doing all kinds of fun shit. It was an ultimate social experience. I went to so many conventions in my early YouTube days with my 3DS on me, and I would come home and have a ridiculous amount of stuff that I got that I could now add and play games with these characters and stuff. It was really, really neat. So that's what I'm going with those, I feel. Okay? Man, we got to keep going. Nintendo 64. Oh, Jesus. That's a tough call. Essentially, Nintendo 64 is the last great cartridge system. It is. I mean, it was the last great cartridge system ever made. After that, all cartridges were completely abandoned, and everyone moved on to CDs for home consoles. You know, they still used the little memory cards and things and for handhelds. In some cases, the game selections were amazing. Games like, you know, Mario 64, holy shit, completely innovated the industry, right? It made all platformers 3D from then on. No one wanted a 2D platformer again. Ocarina of Time, even though I didn't like it at the time, now I've played it and I dramatically respect it. Star Fox 64, oh my god. It took the shitty ass graphics from the SNES and it made it so good to play, so fun. An amazing soundtrack. Wow. At the same time, because the N64 was cartridge based, it was held back. There were games that were cross-platform that were sad to play on the N64. And certain games that were supposed to be good weren't. For example, Killer Instinct. Originally, Killer Instinct 1 was supposed to be on Nintendo 64. It got delayed to the point they didn't even put it on there. They ended up putting it on the sequel on there instead. And they called it KI Gold. It's not. It's Killer Instinct 2. They lied and acted like it was Killer Instinct 1 when it was Killer Instinct 2. So, and also, keep in mind, because the N64 was console-based, it missed out on a lot of great games like the Final Fantasy series, which was geared up and ready to be on it until Square Enix realized we can't fit this on a cartridge. So just on that basis alone, N64 is an A rank. It cannot be S rank because it has too many limitations with the cartridge-based system. Just based on that. But outside of that, it's an outstanding console with great games. It stood the test of time, but it's an A rank only. It can never surpass A rank because it's on cartridges. If it was CD based, it probably would be S tier. So there you go. I'm not insane. I'm a very sane person. Thank you, Dutch, for a couple super chats. First, he says, "Do you know about the Laser Active?" No. He has a second super chat. He says, "Has anyone ever had a Laser Active? Send it to me." I don't even know what a Laser Active is. What the hell's a Laser Active? I've never heard of this. Okay. So thank you, Dutch, for the super chats. Okay. No, it's not S. I'm sorry. Everyone's saying it's S. No, it's not. You guys are all wrong. Every one of you are completely incorrect. Okay. We're almost done. I think we need to rate these portable PlayStation systems. So I think this is PSP, and I think this is PS Vita. They don't have separate models. So I'm going to say PSP is probably a B, while the Vita is probably a C. The PSP had a good selection of games and even movies, but it never really took off like the Game Boy. I think Sony wanted it to, but it just had a lot not going for it. Having to rotate discs around to play, it actually took a lot of energy out of the thing. And to have this thing that had to have rotating discs and things, it was kind of a bad technology move. Everything else, again, all the other portable consoles were on these little cartridges or whatever, cards, and they wanted to have a spinnable disc, and it just didn't really work in my opinion. I do feel like it wasn't as good. Now the Vita, the problem with the Vita was the cost and the selection of games. PSP had a good selection of games, but never really excelled past being a standalone kind of handheld. It didn't blow up. The Vita never even had good games. It had very few games that were worth playing. It was insanely expensive. The freaking accessories for it were insanely expensive. Essentially, it was like having a portable PS3 in your hand, which was nice. I liked the graphics. I just didn't like the games. I think I owned 4 games for it, out of which I liked 1. It's like, it just wasn't worth the money. It was a complete ripoff. So, PSP, I give a B, and I give the Vita a C. I think we're almost done. Oh, wow. Where do you rank GameCube? B. You rank GameCube B. Why? Because Nintendo just didn't get it. While everyone else was trying to innovate and make things more adult-oriented, they were trying to break ground. Nintendo said, let's make a console that looks like a child's toy. and will take that market. And I really feel this was the console gen where Nintendo misstepped big time, because if they had stayed in direct competition with Sony, and then when Microsoft stepped up to the plate, it would have been, wow, they're not, they keep saying ever since the GameCube, oh, we're not in competition with Sony and Microsoft. Yes, you are, Nintendo. No, we're not. We do our own thing. It doesn't matter. That's still your competitor. And it frustrates me that they don't believe that. They just don't. They're foolish in that regard, where they think that like they're completely their own thing. They are not. And GameCube was the beginning of that thought process. The controller is stupid. The console looks stupid. The little discs, they're stupid. There's just a lot of things stupid about it. They didn't need to do that. It was a really dumb idea. It's a B rank for me. Nintendo Virtual Boy, that is a default F. It is one of the worst consoles ever made in human history. You can't even use the thing for more than about 20 minutes without getting severe eye burning and strain. I know, because I used it. It was at a local Blockbuster Video. Back in the day, they had a demo unit. I played it. I was using, my parents were looking at movies. I said, I want to try this. This is a new console. And I sat there and I played tennis for about 10 minutes, and my eyes were burning out of my fucking head. I was like, ah! And my parents like came over. They're like, are you all right? I was like, ah! What did I happen? Like, it was the worst console. It really was. I don't know what they were thinking. The Angry Video Game Nerd said it best. He says, take a look at the console. It's the equivalent of a pair of eyes on a pair of legs. There's no fucking body. It doesn't even fit anyone. How do you play that stupid thing? It's uncomfortable no matter how you play it. It hurts your eyes. It's only 2 colors. It had terrible games. It was shit. That's an F tier for sure. You can't even argue with that. Bloomkit to the Super Chat says, the GameCube controller is great. I completely disagree. I think the GameCube controller is stupid. It's just, it's got dumb buttons that look like pieces of candy. It looks like it's made by preschool, right? It looks like something that your toddler would want to play with, and then they bite it. They don't even know how to play it. They go, I think it's a toy. I really don't think the GameCube is a very good console. You can disagree with me, but I really think it's stupid. Okay. We're almost done. All right. What I want to do is get a little... I'm trying to see... Is this PlayStation 2 right here? Oh, fuck. I'm on the wrong screen. What do we have left? What is this console right here? What is this? I can't see it. I need to go closer. I can't see them. Oh, that's an Xbox. We already ranked that, didn't we? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Hold on. This is easy. That goes to B. Yep. Okay, wow, these are hard to see. That's PS4. That's PS2. That's PS2 Slim. That's Xbox One. That's also Xbox One? Oh, there's Saturn. I didn't even know Saturn was in the mix. Alright, hold on. Okay. There's too many Xboxes. That's why they all look the same and I'm confused. So I put this one. This is the standard Xbox 360. This is the Elite Xbox 360. They both rank exactly the same because they both had exactly the same issues at launch with the Red Ring. So I'm not going to rank one above the other just because one has a bigger hard drive. Fuck that. That's stupid. So they stay together there. The Saturn. The Sega Saturn, I didn't even know it was here. All right, Sega Saturn ranks exactly the same as the Dreamcast. Because even though it had high potential and it had great games, it was just a console, another Sega console that flopped. It didn't have proper marketing. It was overexpensive at the time that it came out. It's a really good console that no one ever played because, again, of just, they flopped the whole thing. I bought a Saturn, no exaggeration, when this... Oh, that's not a Saturn? What is it? Is that a TurboGrafx? Maybe I'm seeing the wrong thing. Is that a TurboGrafx 16? I thought it was a Saturn. Jesus Christ, they're too small. That's the Saturn. What are you talking about? That's a Sega Saturn, dude. That's not a TurboGrafx 16. Stop that. Okay. It's definitely a Saturn. It's the same as Dreamcast, same situation. I bought a Saturn. The year it was going, it was only out for a year. No game retailer wanted it. I went to Toys R Us. I bought a Saturn, 2 controllers, and like 7 games for $200. I walked home for just a couple $100, and I had a giant arms full of shit to play at home. So, same tier as Dreamcast to me. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 2. PlayStation 4, I think, is this. I would say the PlayStation 4 was a solid A. PlayStation 4 is a solid A. It was a great console. It was best in class at the time. And never really had many problems. Great controller, great online connectivity, everything great. So PlayStation 4, solid A for me. Where is the NES? Man. NES is either A or it's either S or A. And the thing is, at the time it was an S, but over time, as the NESs got older, and every game had dirt and shit in it, and it was a pain in the ass. Nah, fuck it. It's an S. NES is an S rank for me. It was so good at the time. It has to be an S rank for me. NES is S. And, excuse me, Wii is a B. Wii is only a B. It was a good console for the time, but the motion controls were a huge gimmick that held it back, in my opinion. It's definitely a B. It can't be better than a B, ever. Okay? Also, where is... I know there's 2 models of PS2 on here, but did I cover everything else? Because I wanted the PS2 to be the end. Did I cover every other console? I think I did. Now it's just the 2 models of PS2, correct? Yeah, this is all duplicated. It's all a glitch, Derek. They duplicated it by accident. Oh, wait, the Xbox One is on here, right? There's 2 models of Xbox One, correct? Here's the Xbox One that by default had the Kinect with it. The launch Xbox One. That's a C. For sure, the launch Xbox One is a fucking C. Because it forced you to fucking have that stupid Kinect with it that no one wanted. Alright, so that's just shit. Okay? Then, the standard Xbox One. Alright? That they removed the Kinect. Okay? That's going to be B. And you can't see it because now I have so many things in the B category that they're blocked. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to demote the GameCube to C so we can see that the Xbox One is now in B. There you go. I'm demoting the GameCube to C. Yes. It received a demotion. Okay? And then I'm going to take all that's left is PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, S tier. PlayStation 2 Slim. Where's the Slim? Is this it right there? Is that PS2 Slim? S tier. S tier. SSS. Outstanding. So as you can see, Super Nintendo, original NES, and PlayStation 2 are the 3 ultimate consoles of all time. For now. We have not had a truly ultimate console since the early 2000s. The rest of them are all duty. Shit. Although I will admit, I do like PS5 and Xbox Series X. I think they're getting very close. Okay, they are getting very close. But we're definitely not, we haven't seen gaming greatness in a very long time. So to reiterate, the worst consoles ever. The Wii U and the Virtual Boy. I don't think anyone's going to argue there. The next worst, Game Gear. Then we have C tier, which is original Xbox, the original PS3, the Dreamcast, the PS Vita, the Sega Saturn, the original launch Xbox One with Kinect force-fed down your throat, and the GameCube. Then in B rank, we've got the original launch Game Boy, the Nintendo Switch, the original Atari 2600, the original Nintendo Game Boy Advance, the slim model of the PS3, the launch version of the Xbox 360, as well as the elite launch version of the Xbox 360, which both had the same issue. The launch version of PS1, the Xbox Series S, the Nintendo DS Lite, I guess that's supposed to be the final version of the PSP. I didn't even have that one. Okay. The Wii, Nintendo Wii, and the second version of the Xbox One, the one that most people bought, that's there. Then, in A ranking, we've got the final version of the Xbox 360 that actually fixed all the problems. So there was no red rings or anything ever again. The original Sega Genesis or Mega Drive. The Nintendo Game Boy Advance S, what is that one called? S something? It's the one that folds. I can't remember what it was called. It starts with an S, right? The final version of PS1 that fixed all the problems. And this one actually had the bells and whistles like the dual thumbsticks as well as a screen. The Game Boy Color, which was the pocket and then color added to it as well. The PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, the Nintendo 3DS XL, as well as the standard Nintendo 3DS, great consoles. The Nintendo 64, and the PlayStation 4. Okay? And then, in S rank, untouchable, the best so far, all right? Super Nintendo, NES, and PlayStation 2 models. And you might argue, well, Phil, you might say, Phil, what is the ultimate, absolute best of all-time console in your mind? All right? And it's a tough question to answer because you really have to weigh and balance all the pros and cons, all of the factors involved. You have to drop things on the floor when you're trying to answer the question, making noise and further distracting from the imminent truth that you have to share with your audience. But for me, the absolute best console ever made in history was the Philips CDI. No, it's the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System, of course. It's the one that I grew up with in my earlier years as an early teen. It's the one that all my favorite games were on. The best RPGs, the best fighting games, the best everything was on it. It was the best console of the 16-bit era. And I was still, to this day, I have nostalgic feelings about playing. When people say, Phil, what was your best Christmas present? Super Nintendo. I sat there on Christmas Day. I was playing Super Mario World all day long. I went and ate delicious food. My mother had made the family. Like, it was amazing. And I was like, well, I still remember those days, those amazing memories. I sat around playing Street Fighter on a joystick, playing music in my boombox. That was like Bush, playing Machine Head as I was beating the shit out of Zangief. Those were the days! Thank you for watching my TierMaker rankings of the best consoles of all time. I hope you enjoyed it and you will share your thoughts. Thanks for watching. If I could find a way to stop recording. Thanks.